Hi everyone, welcome back to Rabbi's Reflection. I'm glad that you're joining with me today. We'll be continuing in our study of Kitchen Table Wisdom by Dr. Rachel Naomi Remen, and today reading the story, The Gift of Healing. Stay with us as we read through the story and then offer some reflections. The Commonweal Cancer Help Program is a retreat for people with cancer in Northern California. Since the beginning of the program in 1984, we have held 75 week-long retreats. Every morning during the retreat, there is a discussion session which usually begins with a brief period of meditation. One of the earliest retreats, Dieter was the first to speak after the silence. In his soft, deep voice, he told us how important it was to him to be together with other people who had cancer, people who could understand how it was for him. He was silent for a while, and then he started talking about his doctor, an oncologist, who had been giving him chemotherapy for some time. Every week he would go to the doctor's office for his injection. Afterwards, he and his doctor would sit together and talk quietly for a while. 15 minutes, no more. Until he came to Commonweal, his doctor was the only person to whom he could talk honestly, who understood the experiences that he was going through. Cancer had changed his life. He now lived so far beyond the usual, the normal, the ordinary in life that he often felt alone. Many people did not want to hear about how it was with him, or couldn't understand things that had never happened to them. Some were so upset by the pain of it all that he felt the need to protect them from it through his silence. But his doctor understood. For 15 minutes every week, he was able to talk to somebody who listened, who didn't need him to explain, who was not afraid. Dieter's life had been different even before his cancer. Born and raised in East Germany, he had escaped across the no man's land, leaving behind him all that was familiar and dear. For years he had felt isolated and homeless, a refugee. Then he had met Lila, an American, who gathered him in and helped him belong again with her love. Shortly after he married her, he had been diagnosed with liver cancer. For some time now, Dieter had suspected that the chemotherapy was no longer helping him. Convinced at last of this, he spoke to his doctor and suggested that the treatments be stopped. He asked if he could come every week just to talk. His doctor responded abruptly, "If you refuse chemotherapy, there is nothing more I can do for you," he said. Dieter had felt closed out and pushed away. When I talk about not doing more chemotherapy, my doctor becomes all business. We are usually friends, but when I mention this, his friendship cuts off. He is the one I talk to. His friendship means a lot to me. And so Dieter had continued to take the weekly injection in order to have those few moments of connection and understanding with his doctor. The group of people with cancer listened intently. There was another silence. Then Dieter said softly, "My doctor's love is as important to me as his chemotherapy, but he does not know." Dieter's statement meant a great deal to me. I had not known either. For a long time, I had carried the belief that as a physician, my love didn't matter, and the only thing of value I had to offer was my knowledge and skill. My training had argued me out of my truth. Medicine is as close to love as it is to science, and its relationships matter even at the edge of life itself. But I had yet another connection to Dieter's story. His oncologist was one of my patients. Week after week, from the depths of a chronic depression, this physician would tell me that no one cared about him. He didn't matter to anyone. He was just another white coat in the hospital, a mortgage payment to his wife, a tuition check to his son. No one would notice if he vanished as long as someone was there to make rounds or take out the garbage. So here is Dieter bringing the same validation, the same healing to his doctor that he brought to me. But his doctor, caught up in a sense of failure because he cannot cure the cancer, cannot receive it. Today's story from Dr. Remen is a reminder of what we're able to offer to one another. I think sometimes we can get stuck on thinking about the tangible or the concrete things that we can offer. For example, in this story, it's the doctor who believes it's the concrete chemotherapy that he provides for his patient, and that's what he can offer. It's limited to that. But from the patient's perspective, he doesn't realize it's the connection, it's the honesty. And it's not just doctors who can feel that way. I think each of us as human beings, wherever we are, regardless of what we're professionally doing or not doing, we can give more than just something concrete. We can give our love. We can give our honesty, our presence, our caring. And that is a tremendous amount. And that is good enough. Also, what's talked about in the story, and I think each of us can relate to it at a different level, is when you have a particular experience that is different than the norm, or what you believe is different than the norm, you begin to feel alone. For Dieter, and I think this was just so poignant and powerful, there's a double loss in his cancer diagnosis. One, obviously, the pain and suffering that he feels through this, but the additional is that he feels that he can't connect to others. He doesn't want to burden them with what he feels is beyond, as Dr. Remen says, beyond the usual, the normal, or ordinary. He wants to protect others from his experience so that they don't have to bear that with him as well. And just reminded of that is just such a powerful lesson when we can really truly be there for others when they think that maybe that we don't have the time or the space to be there for them. And what was also another powerful moment of the story is when the patient, Dieter, believes it's the right time to end his chemotherapy treatment because he's not getting better, and it doesn't seem like it's offering him improvement. And the doctor says, "There's nothing more that I can do for you." And that's a huge loss for Dieter. Not for the chemotherapy, but for those 15 minutes that they had together, that time for just an honest and meaningful moments of connection. And so he decides to go ahead and continue with the weekly injections, even though he doesn't believe that they're helpful, because at least it provides him access to this doctor. And then the last paragraph where Dr. Remen reflects back and realizes and points out, not in the moment, but in her reflections, that Dieter's doctor was her patient, and the loneliness that he feels, and not being able to realize that he is needed and he is connected to people that are right in front of him, his patients. His patients love him and care for him. And so this is a story about a lot of things, but one of the things that it's about is the gift of healing, as Dr. Remen says, the gift of healing that each of us can provide for one another. It's not just the healing that a doctor provides to a patient, that someone well provides to someone who's unwell, but it's the healing that another can provide for someone else. The patient can provide for the doctor. And I think that's just a radical sense of healing. It really turns it on its head, and it realizes that each of us are in relationships where we receive healing, but we also can give healing as well. So that's my hope for us this week as we think and reflect on the story, is the ways in which each of us are a part of healing relationships. Have a great day.